Well, good evening and welcome back to Live and Original Spotlight. This time live from Simcoe Street Theater, both of us here.
That's right. I mean, there's still a glass between us,
Yes,
but
it's not a split screen.
it's not. I mean, for the first time, we're close enough that, I can, you can probably smell me, unfortunately.
Yeah. Big thank you to, of course, the town of Collingwood and 95.1 The Peak FM. We get to bring you this show every month, a look at, a celebration of, a little bit of supporting of our local music scene and what a vibrant scene it is.
Oh, man. Honestly, the best thing really has been that we've been able to connect with so many people. We've been able to kind of be accepted into their homes in a lot of ways, see what they're up to and catch up. And it's crazy the amount of artists who've still been productive during COVID, you know?
Yeah, a tough time for artists, and that's part of the reason why we're here as well, is to just trying to keep us all connected. So all of you online, please comment, share, like, let us know that you're there, and let the artists know that you're there as well. And now we've got a bit of a contest happening on Live and Original Spotlight. We
do. Actually, courtesy of Jeff Woods. Not only do you get the full forest with Woods, you also have a chance to check out his live at Woods Blues venue. So he's got a series of concerts from now until the end of the year, and we have 20 tickets to give away. We'll talk a little more of that later when we speak with Jeff.
Yeah, we get to talk to Jeff Woods. We're also going to get a chance to talk to Brenda Lewis. We've talked to managers, we've talked to producers, we've talked to sound guys, we've talked to recording engineers, but we've yet to talk to a publicist and their importance on burgeoning artists and in the music business. So we have a great conversation with Brenda coming up. And our featured artist this week is one of my favorites. I remember when she was just a little girl and still doing amazing things in the music business.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to hear you speak to her because, I mean, obviously, I guess this week might be her birthday. So if it is your birthday, Sophia, happy 18th. Yeah. You are officially an adult. So welcome to the miserable responsibilities.
Well, we get to talk to her. She's already got an amazing career going, some very interesting conversations, and her music going in a different direction. So we have some conversations with her as well. In fact, why don't we start there?
Yeah.
Let's have a chat with 𝗕𝗿𝗄. 𝗕𝗿𝗄, so great to see you. First of all, how have you been? It seems like forever since we had a chance to talk.
I know. I've been well. I just graduated high school. I have my prom on Friday, so that was very, very fun.
Did you get to even have a prom with the COVID?
We did. Our school didn't host it because of COVID, but our friends did a little something. Right. Nice. So it was really nice. Yeah.
Let's talk about where you are now. Maybe even catch some folks up to where we've been. I remember talking to you when you weren't 𝗕𝗿𝗄, at least that wasn't your professional name. You were doing pop music and things were going very well. And then all of a sudden, your dad says to me, boy, you should listen to what Ann is doing these days. That transition took hold very quickly and very powerfully. I mean, you signed to a huge record label.
Yeah, it's been great. There's been so many changes. Now we're back releasing. I took a little bit of a break to write a little bit more. Now COVID kind of screwed us up with, getting face-to-face in sessions. So I wrote a lot on Zoom, which was really weird, but I got the hang of it. And I actually released some songs that I wrote on Zoom. So we've just been kicking it back into release mode. I've been releasing literally like every 6 weeks, new song. So there's plenty more to come, but it's just been such an amazing ride, especially through COVID, lots of weird twists and turns, but the whole music industry kind of got used to it, and we all figured out how to still keep in touch while being locked in our homes.
Let's start with the very beginning of your music career, because you started very, very young. When you came into our studio, you were just a little girl, and you were
Yeah.
talking about your first record. You were doing pop music at the time, which fit for someone who is your age. How old were you back then?
I was like 11, I think. I wasn't even writing my own music. Like I had, people were bringing me songs. I liked them and I sang them. It's changed. Definitely has changed. I am totally in charge. I write all my music. I do everything myself with my team. Definitely has been a huge change. I'm now, kind of like boss lady, which feels good to say. And it's all, everything that's public right now, everything that everyone sees comes straight from my little brain. And we've all brought it to life. And it's just so cool to see how far, just like I've come as a person. Like I've changed a lot since I was 11 and first
11?
met you.
So how old are you now?
I'm 17. I'm turning
17.
18 though in like a couple weeks actually.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're still very young to be in this business, especially to be
Yes.
the boss lady. Is it intimidating at all, or are you just digging it?
It's not really intimidating. I have a very supportive team. Everyone around me supports everything I do. They just, help me along the way, which is really nice to have them. If they think something isn't right, speak up. But most of the time, it's my ideas, my opinions. It's all me, and everyone else around me just helps bring everything to life for me.
You released Self-Aware Bitch just before COVID, was it?
Yeah,
Kinda
like
just ahead
literally,
of
like
it.
literally just before COVID, like February, and then the month later, everything shut down.
But did you hand that in? No, I'ma take a zero. Call me a self-aware bitch.
There was tours planned. You were going to do a lot of live performing. That all got canceled. But still, the songs off that album, in terms of live streaming hits and the social media side of things, has been hugely successful.
Yeah. Self-Aware Bitch got on the #1 Netflix show, Ginny and Georgia. That I was not expecting to happen. It was crazy. My song was trending on Shazam in the US. The show went #1 for a long time. I think it broke a record or something like that. I hit like 1 million streams in like a week because of the show. A lot of crazy things happened in a very short period of time with that song that I was not expecting to happen. I had known about the show for a long time because they had my song on it, but I didn't know what the show was gonna do. I did not expect it to be that big. It was really cool to be on that show. My song to be on that show, because I got in touch with a lot of the people that were on the show. A lot of them were super nice. They all loved the song. So it was really, really cool. That's never happened before. That was my first sync opportunity. So it was the coolest sync opportunity I think I'll ever have. The show literally went #1. So first and very big sync opportunity.
And by sync opportunity, that's the process of cutting a deal that your song gets used in a movie or television show.
Yeah.
And that's it. Because with that, not only does it have a lot of notoriety, but that pays rather well. Like in the music business, that's one of the best ways to kind of make some money.
Yeah, no, it's a great way, and it's a great way to get a lot of exposure. There are a lot of songs that they blow up because of movies and shows. There's so many artists that I know that have literally blown up because their song was on a hit show or a hit movie. So it's just such a great way for exposure. My followings, my Spotify listeners, my YouTube viewers, like everyone, they all went up, and a lot of them commented, "Who's here from Ginny and Georgia? Hey, I'm here from Ginny and Georgia." So it's really cool to see, like, wow, they took that extra step to go then find the song, subscribe, follow, like they took that extra step after just watching the show, which I typically, like, I don't know, when I watch a show, I just watch the show, and if I happen to like a song, I'll listen to it. But a lot of people went that extra mile, which was really cool to see. I've never seen that before.
You also managed to do some live performing with a band, although not live to an audience, but you were live streaming. You put some videos out, you did even like garage sessions.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and where did you find this band?
So actually the garage sessions, fun fact, were literally filmed in Collingwood. Right in town, in an old garage. A lot of people drive by that house and call my dad and be like, yo, like someone vandalized your garage. And my dad's like, that was my daughter. Like, don't worry about it. It was my daughter. So, and then a lot of people actually, like, I never told anyone where it is. So people find it sometimes and send me pictures and they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know this was filmed here. And I was like, yep, you know now. But it was a great experience. That band was actually, that was one of the first times that we had performed together. The band was kind of brought together by my managers through friendships, connections, people that they've known in the past. And they just were all brought together in one room and we started jamming and we had so much fun together. So it felt like it was just like the right fit for me. And yeah, it was very, just very organic, you know, just through certain connections and through certain friends and stuff that we were all brought together and we ended up loving each other.
Wow.
𝗕𝗿, so great. More with her. We're going to get a chance to look at some pieces of some of her videos too.
Yes. Yes, we'll have some more of that later. But next, we're going to go to Brenda Lewis to find out what exactly a publicist does.
Important role in the music business, and certainly something that does a great job of explaining what is all. We've talked to record company folks and we've talked to agents and managers and producers and sound engineers, but we've yet to talk to a publicist. And it seems to be that one area that certainly we haven't been able to grasp what you do and why it works and why it's important.
Well, in the arts and the performing arts, like anything else, if you're doing something in a vacuum, nobody hears about it. You can be doing all sorts of recording, you can be performing, but if nobody knows what you're up to or what might be unique or interesting about it, you know, how are they going to know to come see you or hear you or buy?
So would it be safe to say that you may not get gigs for artists, but once the artist has a gigs, you help them get an audience?
Yes, I help them get an audience by getting it out in the media. I'm not fully responsible for it, but it's part of a sort of a communication. It's part of the communication between artists, musicians, media, potential concert goers, all of that. So the more that the word is out there, the better it is.
So when a artist is being talked about in a magazine or on a radio station or in a newspaper or on social media, a lot of that has to do with the fact that a publicist has made that connection to say, you check this artist out.
Yes, I'm the person who is usually writing the press release. Press release is kind of a one-sheeter in the old days when you did things without the internet. It's a description of your event, what you do, a brief biography, what the event is, a description of it, why it's exciting, you know, why people would want to come. And that's very specific to a concert. Now I also do, for example, CD releases. If someone is releasing a CD or whatever they're releasing in these days, there are various kinds of releases now that since CDs are not as prevalent.
How much of the role of the publicist is based on their ability to write and to market and to position versus having the contacts of knowing who to send these things to?
It's kind of a fine balance of both of those things. You have to certainly be a really solid communicator in written word. You definitely have to be good at talking to people too. Occasionally, it's less so with musicians and performing artists, but occasionally you're the spokesperson. Often I'm the contact, or I'm the liaison between, say, a concert series or a festival, or any of those things. So I have to be a really good communicator no matter what as a publicist. The part about the connections, they don't come fast or easy, and they change all the time.
How does an artist hire a publicist? Do you work on a case-by-case basis, like a project basis, or do you have a publicist on staff?
It depends on what it is. Obviously, larger musicians, like better-known musicians, will have someone on staff. There's still usually contracts, because you're not working for a company. Like occasionally I am through a management company with one of the major artists that I work with. I work also through a management company from another country even. I can be on staff, for example, if I'm doing publicity for an art center. I could also be on contract, depending on whether it's just when they need an extra push. You know what I'm saying?
Without being crass, how does the artist pay you? What is it? Do you get paid by the hour? Do you get paid by the story, the contacts?
By the hour. It's hours. It can't be by commission in any way, because I have to be paid fairly for the work that I'm doing. So what I do when I'm working on contract, which I usually am with artists, I find out what it is they're looking for, exactly what skills of mine they're going to need, the amount of time that I think might be involved once we go back and forth and talk about what their needs are. Then I give them a quote.
Do you have artists that go, okay, I need these things I need done. So I don't have connections to radio and to newspaper and the media, but I'm really awesome at social media. So I'm going to do that part. Can you do that part? Will you do those kind of relationships?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I sometimes work as part of a team, even with, depending on who I'm working with. And again, it's not always with artists. It's sometimes, for art centers or whatever, where they handle certain things and I handle other things. Sometimes I'm doing it all. I'm doing absolutely everything, including the social media. Other times I'm doing part of the social media, or we send things back and forth. We kind of work at a relationship where some of us, where we both do certain things. I do that with Collingwood Festival, for example, with our artistic director. We have a really good relationship where we can, where we trust each other to put what needs to go out there, and we go back and forth, and it just all keeps rolling.
We started off this part of the conversation with you saying it's beneficial for artists, even if they're not going to do their own publicity, to get an understanding of how to do it, or to get a feel for what it is.
Yes.
Is it possible for an artist to do their own publicity?
If they have the time, and if they have a knack for it. I mean, obviously, you have to do it to get a knack for it, but some people are just, like I said, some people just really take to it, and they know what to do. And there are other people who just don't have a grasp of it at all. You get people who over promote themselves. Like there's a danger of that on social media, over promoting and over tagging, and there are all kinds of, what will we call it? All kinds of mismanners things, etiquette. So, I mean, there are things you should learn and look at before you decide to do anything yourself. There are lots of places on the internet where you can find a bit of info about kind of do's and don'ts and tips and that kind of thing.
How does someone choose a publicist? What do you look for? Are some publicists better for some people than others, or is it just there's those who have experience and are good at it and those who are just starting?
You kind of have to look at style of music, because obviously it's good if someone understands. They don't necessarily have to be an expert on the music, but they have to understand how to promote it to the market. for that music. For example, I don't know everything about classical music, but I know how to promote it, and I know when to ask questions. I know how to ask questions when I don't know something. So I always make sure that, with my clients, that whatever their message is that they want out, that it's correct, and that all the spelling of all of the foreign composers, etc. So I mean, there is that. You definitely want to be specific in terms of the messages that you're getting out, in terms of who it's supposed to go to.
So you got to know your audience, in not just in terms of your music audience, but the audience in terms of the media who's going to grab it to use for their audience.
Yes.
We're back.
More with Brenda Lewis coming up. We get to delve a little bit more into the intricacies of being a publicist, and she's a performer in her own right. So we talk a bit about that as well.
Yeah, we actually get to hear a little bit of one of her performances. So definitely come back to hear a little bit of Brenda and also learn a little more about what a publicist does or could do for you.
Now, we talked a little bit about at the opening of the show that we have a new contest that will be happening through all of the rest of the episodes, including today's episode.
That's right.
So if you have watched one of our episodes over the last season 2 started, last couple of months, your name is in a draw, and we're going to be doing that in just a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to talk to Jeff Woods. He is a veteran broadcaster, author, and set up his own studio, Wildwood Blue. Got some performances coming up, but we get to talk to him about his take on this local music scene and how vibrant it is, and a bit more about that contest too.
Yeah, once we get back.
Well, if there's ever been a friend to the Spotlight show, it's Jeff Woods. He was on season 1 with us. A pleasure to have him back. And Jeff, we wanted to talk to you because you and Wildwood Studio, you have been incredibly busy all through this pandemic. Congratulations on all that.
John, thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Tyler. It's a pleasure
Thanks,
to
Jeff.
be welcome. It's a pleasure to be back. I have been busy. This Wildwood Blue Performance Studio was built and designed pre-COVID. The design came together, and then the world changed, and I just thought I'm going to carry on with my plans, and it was effectively built and finished during COVID in 2020. And started to operate in the fall of 2020. But as you know, as we all know, things weren't public. So I've kind of been in here alone with, the kids who love to play guitar and drums. And we have little jam sessions. But finally, now that things are opened up, if not forever, then currently, we're doing shows starting in September, starting this month. Shows before Christmas will total 8.
Tell me about this studio, because to me it looks like a working recording studio. I know that you do your radio shows from there, you do your podcasts from there. It looks fantastic too on all the social media. But how do you fit people in as a performance space?
There is room for 20 capacity audience. I have nice leather seats and some stools, and nicely seats 20. The stage is fantastic. Artists love it because the stage will easily fit a 5 or 6 piece band. The stage is as big as the spectator area, actually.
Going to be a very intimate concert right from the beginning.
Yeah, it's true. I think we'll open, for the first, weather permitting, we'll open up the double doors at the front of the studio, and if people want to spread out and even sit in the driveway, as it were. Our neighbors are amazing here at Wildwood's Blue Studio. They love music too, so they'll probably end up sitting in the driveway too and listening. So there's no worries about police, particularly because it's a matinee show.
Right.
The little kids go to bed early, so we decided to do a 3 o'clock show. So it'll be fun. The studio effectively is for shows. It's to produce my Records and Rockstars radio show and podcast. It's to teach the kids how to play guitar and drums. It's to hang out and jam with friends. It's who knows what else. I narrate audiobooks in here and do commercial recordings too. It's just a place to create and have fun.
I got to tell you, I have for years loved your interviewing style, and I'm really enjoying hearing you take that same approach, the same reverence, the same style that you would talk to a Robert Plant or a Jeff Beck, but you're bringing it to some of the folks that I know personally, some of the local artists that we have here in our community. Do you get the same buzz from interviewing burgeoning artists and up and coming artists and artists just on the way as you would someone who's been internationally famous?
Strangely, I enjoy it more now because I was fortunate, and you pointed out, Robert Plant. I was fortunate to interview so many of those so-called A-listers. Not all of them, but 80% of them. And not only the ones that came up in the 60s, like the Stones and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, but ones from the 90s, like, Dave Grohl, Eddie Vedder. I've met all these cats, and that was great too. But the one thing I learned was that, they're all just human beings on the planet. And although their paychecks may have become bigger, they're no different than someone who's unknown. And the first people to point that out, John, as you've noticed, and Tyler too, is those stars. The Jimmy Pages of the world say, we got really lucky. There were guys that you don't know their names that were just as good as us, but somehow the stars didn't align such that they became well known. But they have just as much to offer, just as many great stories. And so I love talking to developing artists because who knows where they'll be tomorrow. But in the moment, it's about who they are, how they feel, and what is coming out through their songs. So it's more of a songwriters and song podcast, the way I look at it. And great songs come from everywhere, not just famous people, as you guys know. So I speak to them the same way I speak to Keith Richards, with a little less nerves, no question.
Sure. Now, when you talk about, when you meet some of these artists, some of these iconic artists that you talk to, did you have a sense of that lightning in the bottle of that? And do you find it with up and coming artists, and do you go, oh, this is one to watch?
I like to feel that this is one to watch, but I'm also aware that what connects with me on a Tuesday morning may not connect with you on a Friday night. I like to think that, on the other hand, that if I dig it, probably somebody else will dig it. And that's how I sort of choose. If it connects with me and I'm really inspired to do it, I do it because I can. I have the freedom to do it. If I always say, if this many people are really passionate about something and really get something out of this thing, then I've done my job. I'm not the McDonald's of radio. I'd like to be that sort of corner diner that connects with a really loyal audience who kind of digs the things I dig. And the artists that I've booked into the studio for these shows are kind of people that I have that kinship with. Jake Good is one that I met through the town of Collingwood.
Tell us about this concert series. I'm really looking forward to this. How did you curate the artists that you booked? What were your decision making on this playlist?
I have to, you can only connect the dots in reverse sometimes. And when I booked all the shows, I went back and thought, 75% of these people have been on my podcast. And that wasn't a conscious decision. I'm going to book all the people that I've spoken to. It was more, who do I dig and who's available? So a few weeks ago, I put out an email or a text to 8 artists. And I said, I'm doing shows. Here are the available dates. Would you like to play? It's a 3:00 matinee performance. It's in my studio. Some of you have seen it. Some of you haven't, but it's, near Collingwood. And within 36 hours, all 8 were booked. So it showed me 2 things. One, that we didn't just connect over a podcast. We connected in a live music capacity whereby they want to play. And 2, they're really hungry to play because they all said yes, and there were no conflicting dates. So Jake Good jumped in on the show number 2. And then from there, all the other artists, many of whom have come to this area, played Collingwood, played Meaford, played Owen Sound, and now they're going to play live at Wildwood Blue.
Give us a rundown of some of the folks we're going to expect.
Thanks for asking. So Jake Good in September, and then early October, booked on John Lennon's birthday, as it turns out, is Joan Smith and Tom Yuhas. The Jane Does, just a killer duo. They do a lot of original music with great passion. They also really know the 90s, so they've got a 90s kind of edgy vibe to them. But they can do blues songs, they can do folk songs, they can do their own songs. So Tom and Joan. In October, I've got the Ontarians, who you guys know. Craig Smith and Frank DeResti and Jay Styles are going to do a show here. Lily Frost from Toronto. Lily's a wonderful singer, kind of roots background. She always has a killer band, but she's also great as a soloist. So she's going to come and play the little acoustic piano here, provided by our friend 𝗕𝗿𝗲𝗄𝗏. And she's going to maybe play some guitar too and do her original music. Falcon Jane is someone that I'm really passionate about, because when I heard her first, her name's Sarah May, but her artist name is Falcon Jane. She reminded me of Emmylou Harris, that kind of warble to her voice, and just this sweet, introspective songwriting approach. So Falcon Jane featuring Sarah May is coming. And then on from there, we're going to do a Christmas show later with 𝗕𝗿𝗲𝗄𝗏 and guests. And then in 2022, it's wide open. We're going to book a show every other week.
Tyler, I know that we're connecting our show with these shows because we get an opportunity to give away some tickets.
Yeah, that's right, John. We have 20 tickets that we've decided to split up across 5 shows. And we will disperse those tickets across our 3 shows. I know I said the word show a couple of times there, so if you're confused, that's okay. The main thing that matters is comment right now, because we're going to be awarding basically a randomly selected comment for tickets for a particular show. So later on in this episode of Spotlight, we will do a live drawing for 2 shows, and then we will be notifying you via Facebook, direct message, and there will be a few COVID things to go over, but our hopes are that each of the lucky commenters randomly selected will enjoy these amazing shows.
Jeff, thank you for these tickets, the opportunity to connect with what you're doing, because it's fantastic.
Thank you both. It's great to always speak with you, and it'll be great to have some new faces in the studio. Any faces, particular people who are huge and passionate music fans, to come and see these shows at Wildwood Blue. So thank you.
If people want to buy tickets, if people want to find out more, if some of our artists listening want to find out how they can be a part of the show, where should they go? That's
a great point. If you want to perhaps play the venue, or you want to come to a show, some of the seats we're giving away, some are actually for sale. Go to jeffwoodsradio.com. There's a contact page. You can email me there, and we'll chat.
Jeff Woods, always a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Tyler.
You know, I've been hearing a lot of Jeff Woods' voice as, you know, his rock stars.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's got an audiobook of it now, and I've just listened to that nonstop. So it's always great to hear that voice.
Yeah, so, I mean, 350 pages, give or take. Are you listening to Jeff before you go to bed?
I listen when that's how I read now, is audio. Yeah, I'm listening whenever I get a chance to. It's such a really good, the whole book, but it's really great to hear. Excellent. I recommend it anyway. Sure. Let's do that contest we're talking about. Yeah. We actually have 2 sets of 4 tickets. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the Jake Good Show. This is happening September 25th. Well known in the live and original Spotlight world.
Oh yeah.
He was one of the first winners.
Yeah.
Back when this was a contest.
Yeah. Some people might actually know him as Mike Charette, but professionally, this is Jake Good, and it is a very good name. So if you're watching at all, Jake, Hey, man, how are you?
All right, let's get the big random wheel. We give it a spin.
Yeah,
Spin it?
you do get to spin it.
Okay, here I go.
All right. And let's see. So we have Russell Graham. You just won 4 tickets to the September 25th Jake Good Show. I will be messaging you after this episode on Facebook with some more details. As the super handsome man in our Jeff Woods interview had said, you do have to be double vaxxed. There's some COVID things that we'll go over. So that's our first
one
of 2 that we'll do this evening.
We've got another draw coming up. But first, let's finish our discussion about publicity and publicists with Brenda Lewis, who also, as we find out, is an artist in her own right. We get to hear some of her.
Right.
Let's get into your background, because you weren't originally a publicist. You're actually an artist yourself. You've been a performer for many years.
Yes, I'm a few things. I actually did go through to be a publicist in school, more or less. I began in graphic design and then fine arts, and then I did a total switch, and I realized that nobody was really teaching us how to promote ourselves as artists, and that was visual art. And what ended up happening was I never planned on becoming a musician. I'm a professional jazz vocalist. I began more in the roots, folk, blues, kind of acoustic, eclectic end of things. Long time ago now, like over 25 years ago. And I had to promote myself. And I also, what happened was concert series that I was playing in realized that I knew how to promote myself and also what they were doing, and I started getting hired to do concert series, and it just burgeoned from there. I had all these skills anyways, and it just all kind of had to come full circle. So that's kind of how that happened.
Tell us about some of the bigger projects that you've worked on.
Well, most recent one, which is of course how you found me, is the Collingwood Summer Music Festival. This was I'm their official publicist. I did their first year too, and of course the second year did not happen because nothing happened that year.
I was going to ask you how much you dreaded having to be the publicist for a big music festival in the middle of a pandemic.
Actually, I wasn't feeling hesitant at all. I mean, I worked with Daniel, I worked with the board, and we worked with what we had, and Daniel had already figured out, that's Daniel 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗍𝗄, our artistic director, but he already, throughout the pandemic, he made a point of teaching himself everything he possibly could about doing live stream performing himself. So it really wasn't that hard. I just did all the things I normally do.
Right. A project's a project. It just
I did a lot online because of course so much is online now, and that's another point I wanted to make about publicity too, is so much of this is done. There are a lot of bloggers now, as there is less traditional media, there are more bloggers, and you constantly have to be keeping on top of who's doing what and what staff is changing with the traditional outlets, because they change all the time. But you also have to keep on top of who is writing about what.
And who's hot and who's got an audience.
Yeah, and they come and go. There's a lot of that. Okay, so that's one larger client. Another one from your area which your larger area would be Midland Cultural Center. I did a lot of publicity for them, probably over about 5 years and more. And I wasn't officially hired on staff. I was on contract, and I did a lot of specific markets for them. So, I mean, they've done a lot in folk and acoustic and roots when Eugene Ray was the AD, or the ED, I should say, the manager of the center, and he's now moved off to Maritimes. So things have changed there now. So I did a lot of work with them. So I also knew a lot of media that connected to the media where you are in Collingwood. So things always have a way of one thing leading to the next thing, even when you don't know. Larger contracts, I've done a lot of touring publicity. I worked with a French guitarist who's from France, French Algerian, world-class acoustic guitarist, 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗂 𝗪𝗂. I've done, my goodness, probably 5 tours with him across North America, where I don't get to go with him. People go, do you get to go? You're the publicist. No, I don't get to go coast to coast across the States and Canada, but where I actually do, all the publicity, and I'm connected with all the venues. It's quite a coordination effort. And these are long tours. They can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So I've done a number of those. I've also done them for him in the UK and Ireland. So my scope's pretty far. Another major artist that I've done a fair bit of work with in recent years before COVID is she's a Grammy-nominated bluegrass artist, Lynch. She has moved to Canada. She married a Canadian husband a few years back, and she eventually came here, but she is a well-known Nashville artist, and I've done cross-Canada touring with her. So there's some of my major ones. I've done all kinds of smaller art centers, around my area, and I can work anywhere.
What's the biggest mistake people do when they do publicity wrong?
Oh boy, where do I start? No, actually, there are some specific things. One of them I mentioned earlier is over promoting,
Over-tagging.
Yeah, all sorts of things like that. It's because of social media. There are people who just make themselves nuisances. So don't be a nuisance. I'm not saying you shouldn't follow up. Of
Right.
course, you have to follow up, but you kind of have to pay attention to the responses you're getting, if you're getting any, and it's a fine line on that one. One of the other ones I mentioned was overselling yourself.
Yeah.
Describe yourself as being good at what you do, but don't overdo it. And always, I don't know if I'll list this under Floyd. I'll put it in a more positive way. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, as my father said. He was actually a union leader. He worked for RCA Victor for years in mid-management. Be polite to the people you're dealing with. If you're not getting what you want or what you think you deserve, be humble. You don't see it a lot, but you do see pockets of, you do see people getting frustrated. Who are more established, for example,
Right.
and they feel like they should be getting more attention. But the problem is that everybody is approaching the same media, especially the higher up. Like if you're trying to get written about in the Globe and Mail or Toronto Star, which is almost all freelancers now, by the way.
Right.
You CBC, it's not easy. CBC's changed so much. You just have to, you can be firm, but you still have to always, you don't have to be an ass kisser, another word or term, but you should always, bear in mind that you're asking them to help you. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Again,
yeah,
it's having that relationship. There is, like, as you mentioned, there's a bit of sales involved in this.
Yeah. It's always about nuance and balance, like anything else.
Well, Brenda, this has been very valuable information. Thank you so much for joining us here on Spotlight.
You're welcome.
There you have it, the world of the publicist, and we thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, publicist, singer. I mean, she's got it all there, and I think it's kind of a really cool point there. Just to be humble and to be polite. It's crazy to think, but those customs quite often are slipping away. So be nice.
Nice. We're going to finish up our conversation with 𝗕𝗍𝗶, get into what's now, and those fans of 𝗕𝗍𝗶, and I know there's many of you, might be a little bit surprised. I'm excited about this. But in the meantime, let's do that draw. Let's give away another set of 4 tickets. This time it's for the Jane Does. You heard Yuhas. The show is on October 3rd. So let's wheel out and give it a spin.
And just for the record, if anybody's watching, Russell didn't win a second time. No. The way this thing's programmed, the names stay on the screen, so it will go when you're ready, John, if you want to give it a spin. Well done.
Extra hard that time.
Well done, John. John Gabriel, come on down. No, you have to stay there, but I will be in contact with you to let you know you have just won 4 tickets. You and 3 of your family, probably, or friends, whoever's in your bubble and double vaxxed, get to go and check out this great intimate event.
Mm-hmm. We've got tickets for more shows coming up, so make sure you, watching now, you comment, like, share, do all that stuff. Let us know that you're out there. Make some comments. Ask us who you want to see on Live and Original Spotlight. We have so much great talent out there. We are combing it like crazy, but if there's someone we haven't heard of, we want to make sure we do.
Oh, yeah. Definitely give a shout out. Send a link, too, if you have something. I mean, everybody wants to hear some new, exciting music, so don't be afraid. But on that note of new and exciting music, let's circle back with 𝗕𝗍𝗶 and find out where she's going with her sound.
In terms of your musical direction, do you know where you're headed now? Have you hit a vein where this is where I'm going to sit, or are you? Because it seems like you're using more organic instruments than electronic instruments. It seems like you're becoming a bit more edgier with each different song, each release. Is that somewhere you're headed?
So I'm going to keep as much as I can as a secret, because this is my favorite body of music that I've ever made in my life. So everyone thinks they're on the right track, which is why this is like the funniest thing to watch. Everyone thinks they're on the right track with what I'm doing, but they're not. There's going to be a big change that I find I have really stepped into my world, and this is where I belong. Really awesome feeling. The people I work with are freaking amazing. They just make everything that I think of in my head come to life.
I'm done with you, I just want me some jam and toast.
Music-wise, visual-wise, I'm very excited. It's gonna be a very big change, but I think people are going to love it.
Can you tell us what that change is going to look and sound like?
A little bit, yes. How do I say this without giving it up? I mean, it's definitely gonna get a little bit creepier. I love. Yes. Okay. This is the reason why I love horror movies. I'm a huge thriller person. Love being scared, all that fun stuff. Love haunted houses, love escape rooms, love all that stuff. So I wanted to kind of implement that into my music, because I was like, why not? If it's something that I love and love to do, I'd love to scare people too. So definitely not as scary as a horror movie, but it's going to be a little bit creepy. A little bit thrilling, but in a fun way. So you're not going to get scared, but you're going to understand the creepy part about it.
And I scare very easily. I will be scared. But I'm really looking forward to hearing it. You have, I've jokingly referred to you as the modern day Hannah Montana, not musically, but the fact that you have, ever since I've known you, been combining a full-on for real music career while still going to high school. You've graduated now. Are you looking at post-secondary education, or are you looking at, no, this is my job now, I'm going in head first?
This is my job. School was very in the way. I will say it was like one of the hardest things to balance both of those. I was trying to literally answer texts, be in meetings, do all this stuff while trying to learn this chemical equation for whatever. Like, it was hard. It was definitely very hard, especially the no phone rule was a freaking nightmare for me, because that was literally how I worked. So a lot of my teachers were very understanding, but it was definitely still hard, because a lot of the times I was trying to kind of, do my schoolwork, listen to what's going on in class, but my phone's blowing up because I have something to deal with back at work. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Who knows? Maybe I'll go back into school if I feel like it. But for now, I just want to work straight in music and just like give it all. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, I definitely strive for the grades to be able to go to post-secondary and be able to like get into something that I want to do. But music is literally the only thing like that I could see myself doing.
It feels odd asking a 17-year-old for music industry advice, but you have had a long career relatively. I want to ask you, for a burgeoning artist, for an up-and-coming singer-songwriter, what mistakes have you made that you went, boy, I wish I didn't do that you would warn them against? And what decisions have you made that went, wow, I'm so glad I did that, I want to tell everyone who's starting out to think of that?
I think the biggest mistake that I made was letting people kind of tell me what to do, and letting people take over my creative mind. I love being in charge of pretty much everything that it has my name on it, because it has my name on it. And it's also just like music videos, photo shoots, cover arts, all that stuff is so much fun to make. Like, and it all comes from in here, and to see it come to life, like I've said, is so cool and so magical. So my biggest mistake is letting people take that over and letting people bring in all their opinions and all their whatevers, and kind of disregarding what I had to say. And the best thing that I ever did was took it back and said, no, this is my job. Just this is what I'm here for. This is my creative mind is what I'm here for and what my fans want to see. And seeing that change, just like the first day I did something that I really wanted to do, just changed the whole game. My fans noticed, my team noticed, everybody noticed that it was finally like authentic to me and it was coming straight from me.
Fantastic. And Sophia, always a pleasure catching up with you. Can't wait for the new Scary album, if I'm brave enough to listen. Appreciate your time with us today. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Fantastic.
I don't think so.
No,
I'll
okay.
put that away.
That
Sorry.
for now. It's been great to be live here at the Simcoe Street Theater. It's awesome to work with Tyler, but it's really more fun, even though we're separated by class. And Tyler, Simcoe Street Theater is open for business, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, sort of, kind of, pretty much covers it. As everybody knows, things are still, as always, uncertain times. But with the news that September 22nd, we will require vaccination passports or proof of vaccination. So I've spent some time trying to put together an organizer's guide. I'm not going to bore everyone at home, but we are available for rentals. There's just more things to kind of go over, but I am more than happy to chat with you on the phone, connect however you're most comfortable to discuss what we can still do here and to make it safe for everyone.
Coming up in, of course, the town of Collingwood, we mentioned this a lot, is a vibrant music and art scene. And what I love is favorite events each year is the art crawl, which combines music and visual arts. And sadly, we haven't been able to do it the way we normally get to do it, big outdoor concerts, live outdoor performances. But there is sort of a online, in-person.
Yeah. So there's already stuff to go and check out on the website. So collingwoodartcrawl.com, and on there you can see a complete listing of some of the venues along with some of the artists, but not their pairings. So right. It's almost like a music art scavenger hunt in a sense.
I guess the best thing to do is check out the website again, collingwoodartcrawl.com. Find your favorite artists and then check their socials for where they're playing and when.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's the best thing to do.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Live and Original Spotlight. The full interviews will be posted over the next month, so keep tabs on that. And don't forget to comment, like, share, do all that, because we do have a giveaway to happen next month. Yeah,
we'll have another 2 sets of tickets to give away. So get your comments in, whether you're watching it live or after the fact. I'm not keeping tabs. I'll just see your name on the video. So make sure that you comment, and we'll get you on that wheel, and maybe you and 3 of your friends will get to go and catch a concert.
Thank you to the town of Collingwood and 95.1 The Peak, and thank you for watching.
Thanks.